Shalom, friends. I'm Chaim, Chairman and Executive Director of the Aliyah Return Center charity with Ezra Adventures, right? CEO, founder.
Doug Hershey, yes.
Doug Hershey. And also, we've been friends for a long time, and I just thought it'd be good to share with the good people here some of where we began and where we've come to, and some of the good things that God has done as we followed the prophetic word. What do you think?
Yeah, and talking about history, like this is something like you and I were together right at the very beginning of COVID, and we were doing similar things just like this.
That's right.
Which was also kind of fun. So talking about history, this is like old times.
Well, I think one of the things that showed me it's that this isn't just a regular charity, because I mean there are charities that are driven by compassion. What is it called? World Vision, different ones, UNICEF, that are driven by compassion. That is something. We are to be compassionate. That is good and fine. But this is driven by that and the prophetic word coming to pass. I don't think people just wake up in the morning and say, I feel like helping immigrants get settled in the land of Israel. That's what I want to spend my day doing, and that's what I want to donate extravagantly to. It doesn't happen. But when people are praying, and when they're reading these verses, I will gather you from all the nations, Ezekiel 36, all the countries where I've scattered you, I will bring you, I will be your God, you will be my people. And you're like, this is happening really right now, and I can be part of this? Isaiah 49, verse 22. Yes, carry them in your arms. Bring the daughters on your shoulders. Bring them to the promised land. Jeremiah 32:41. I will plant you in the land with all of my heart, all of my soul. People start to feel God's beating heart for the restoration of this promised land, which is sanctifying his holy name. And they are like, yes, I want to be part of this. So if I'll just take a few minutes and I'll just share. 12 years ago at the time of the filming of this, 12 years ago, we felt, we originally were thinking of maybe Sderot to start, or Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria near Jerusalem. One thing led to another. The Galilee became highlighted to us. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 and 2. This place that sat in darkness, the land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, I will honor it in the future by way of the Jordan River along the Sea of Galilee. And it's the Galilee of the nations. So we said, the nations do come here. Maybe some of them would want to help fulfill God's word. So we took it upon ourselves to buy a little hotel, 11 rooms. And it was this little place, and you were there.
And back in the early days.
I remember saying the first conversations with my father-in-law. I remember saying, his name is Dean Bai, and I remember I said, how much money do you have towards something like this that would house people in a very expensive country? House them, give them some food, take care of the lone soldiers, give them some clothes, the basics, as they come here from all over the world. And just give them a helping hand. And he's like, I don't have any money. What about you, Chaim? And I said, I don't have any money. I'm a poor soldier. I'm struggling to survive myself. So it's almost, you hear the voices of doubt, like, this is never going to work. No one knows the words Aliyah Return Center. Who's going to donate to something they don't know about? And I remember I was like, you have to have faith. And I just was praying, and I said, let's take a step, a lech lecha, like Abraham. Go to a land you know not of. You never were there before. But go. And so I moved to the Galilee with my wife, and we had one child who was born in Tel Aviv. And we went to, and I remember every time it was due, the checks that we gave for the purchase of this building were due, I'm sweating like droplets of blood. I'm like, how are we going to pay this? But the money just was always there, exactly just about the right amount, right? At the right. Sometimes the bank would be like, we're going to cancel you and you'll have no credit ever. Like, just wait, the money's going to come. A very rich relative, my Father in heaven, is going to send. Anyway, and it just happened. The Father in heaven really did take care of us. And since then it's grown. We now have a lone soldier building for lone soldiers to stay, 9 apartments. Beautiful. It's a 150-year-old building, and we also have a program that gives food. We give packages, food packages, and the volunteers pack it to 5 cities in the Galilee region. And so also we have the food voucher program, which is like a little card, and we're able to give this to Holocaust survivors, veterans, Arabic speakers as well. people that fled from southern Lebanon. They're
Mhm.
called Sadanikim. They're Arabic speakers as well. Some of them speak French. And we're able to bless them and, of course, the immigrants. So the food program, that's food security, nourishment. And then, of course, clothes. We get a container, a shipping container, 40 foot, about once a month. It's just from all kinds of countries. And there's people that are the procurers, or they buy something for cheap from donations, or they just get often new clothes. I was showing you earlier today.
It was awesome.
And so it's packed in there, and it comes to our warehouse where the forklift is, where we have this little, and so the volunteers go and they just manage it and they organize it, and then it goes to the distribution center, the free clothing distribution center called Livracha, to the blessing, and people are constantly there staffing it all day.
Yep.
And people, it used to be not a smart way. It used to be where we would take all these boxes from some warehouse and try to put them on tables and say, everybody want to come and take some clothes. But then you have to pack it all back up.
Yeah, that's a mess.
But this is now, they just come to us.
Yeah.
And it works really nice. Yeah.
I will say, from 12 years ago, when you and I first met at the little hotel that you're talking about, little boutique hotel, that's where I stayed when we were doing a lot of the photo shoots for Israel Rising, for my first photo book that took off. But since that time until now, all of this stuff, you just took me through before we did all this. You just walked me through, and I'm like, where did all this stuff come from?
And Beit still exists, and we still have that.
Exactly. It's so I've been watching, while I haven't been intricately involved, of course, with the things. I'm kind of in and out with different groups and teams. It's been cool for me to watch from 12 years ago, from this little boutique hotel to all that it's expanded into, and somehow, some way, it's still working, it's still happening, it's still growing.
It is, and just got to say yes to the Lord today, yes to the Lord tomorrow, and the day after that too, and one step at a time.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this, is that being friends and closely working with the mayor of Tiberias and the mayor of the Jordan Valley, which is Capernaum, and the whole entire thing, all the Beit Zera, and so we've been inviting them to our events. It's been very good. The chief rabbi, he loves to come to our events. These things have actually really opened a lot of doors as well. And of course, working with the Jewish Agency in full partnership with the Young Olim Club, where we have the young immigrants, and then that is a accelerator and an incubator of business ideas. And so we're renting that buildings for them to be able to get their ideas. And it's really for anyone in the north, who, not just immigrants, who have an idea and they want to meet an investor, and it could be an investor from another country or from Israel, and to make the north, Tel Aviv has all this. The north is the periphery, and the south is the periphery, and they don't always have some of these things. So we're sitting right now.
They do now,
and we're sitting right now in what everyone needs is called the Hebrew school. The Hebrew school, Ulpan, and classes are full. So you fit about 70 people. All three classrooms, you can fit around 70 people, and they come for 6 months.
I want to do that. I want to get sucked in and hide in the back.
People do that. They can come for a part and observe some of it, and they just don't want us to film it. But so now, lastly, how does all this and more? How does all this even happen? Well, really, God has been stirring people's hearts, and where they'll give things, even gold and silver, for real. They'll take it off there, and they'll just say, God told me to give. We're going to renew our vows. So this is our wedding band. We want to. And when I first saw this happen, it's been happening for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And you probably know my own story of Aliyah. Someone gave us gold coins. Gold coins in this bag.
Crazy.
And I remember saying, man, is there something prophetic about this? And you open up the Bible and you look at Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra. And King Cyrus gave an edict, and they gathered gold and silver from all kinds of nations, provinces under Persia. And they funded the building of essentially the walls of Jerusalem and the temple, the prayer house for all nations. And you think back before that, what about when they left Egypt, when Moses and Charlton Heston had the stick there, and the Egyptians funded with gold and silver. So I realized, and that became the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant, and the angels, So I realized we're part of a story today where the rings just come in. So even I'll notice that people just give it to me. See if I have one right here. Just a ring here, yes. So for example,
lo and behold, there it is.
there's a ring right now, and so it comes in different ways. But my point is just that it's something extravagant. When God does something, He doesn't just, okay, now I did it because I guess I have to. No, it's with a little pizzazz, a little extravagance, and I think that's how our walk is supposed to be with God. That's the reason why I'm still in this myself, is because I see the confirmation and reconfirmation of the journey.
You're in it for the pizzazz.
We want a little pizzazz, spiritual pizzazz, and I love using that word. Lastly, is the villa is not just for immigrants for free, where families can stay. What about families who have fled? They could stay in the Beit Zera location, and we did that $5 million project, an Aliyah village, which is still running, and I'm not managing it, but it's still running, and it's still we still did start that $5 million project, so people can stay in Beit Zera, they can stay in the villa, but not just immigrants for free, groups. And I think some of your groups might have stayed in our
Yeah, I was
villa.
going to say, well, a couple. We've had several groups that when there was much more development happening in Beit Zera, we would stay there and work there.
Right.
When you had a villa that was a little further up on the
Uh-huh.
hill, really beautiful
Yeah.
home. Sometimes we'd use that as a home base for our northern projects. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, and we've been talking about even future groups that I'm bringing of doing the same thing. Even if we're not intricately involved in everything you've described,
Right.
one of the things I like to do with our Ezra Adventures work teams is that even our lodging costs and our food costs is going locally. So instead of staying at hotels, we're staying at guest houses
Right.
that supports the Aliyah Return Center.
That's right.
Or so that we're traveling very organically. We're involved in work projects around Israel, especially now during wartime. But it's important to me that it's not just all of the travel expenses, because there are a lot of travel expenses. This is an expensive place
Right,
to
it
live
is.
and to travel to. But if we're doing that, at least you would know that my lodging cost is supporting the Aliyah Return Center. My food cost is supporting the local grocery store, or an Airbnb
Yeah.
that we may rent for a few days.
Yeah.
We're traveling as locally as possible, so that even when we're doing the work projects, even when you're sleeping, even when you're eating, as much of our travel expenses are going into the land of Israel to help strengthen local communities.
I just thought of something that I find funny. This is my quirky personality coming to light, is when I get a parking fine, which can't happen because it's hard to find parking.
It happens a lot,
and
from
it
what
can
I understand.
happen quite a bit
for you,
because you park in the wrong place. You're like, I'll just
On the
I'll just
sidewalk.
or something. And so whenever I get a parking fine, I'll just go to the post office. I was like, I just am so glad to donate towards the road work and
All
making
of
sure
it.
there's no potholes. So this 100 shekels, I am so glad to help Israel.
It almost makes you want to give more, doesn't it?
Yeah, like I want to give twice as much.
I'm going to park wherever I want, just so I can donate
Just
to
so I can
Tiberius.
donate to this thing. But you're right.
Anyhow.
Everything helps. Everything that helps. When you-
Everything makes a difference.
Yeah. And the last thing, which you may or may not know about, is from the Aliyah Return Center, is that when you have to go in the army, it can be a shock. Everyone here has to serve, even girls. Girls 2 years, boys 3 years, and it's often better, especially if you're a new immigrant, to go through a pre-army academy,
Yes.
a training. This isn't the Ambassador Academy where internationals come and learn about Israel, and that happens twice a year, the month of February, the month of September every year. But I'm talking about the pre-army academy.
Yeah.
And we started one in Beit Zera. That's still working. This is another one.
Amazing.
But this pre-army academy is really, there's some notable people who've been through this. It's called En Prat. Now we're bringing it to the north. We've brought it to the Galilee.
Not Chris Pratt, but
Not Chris Pratt.
but En Pratt.
En Prat.
Just wanted to clarify.
And former Prime Minister, he may be again, Naftali Bennett is an example of one of the people who've been trained in the pre-army academy. Then he goes to the army, he's groomed for greatness, and he ends up becoming Prime Minister. And his Ayelet Shaked, a member of Knesset, and we work with some members of Knesset, so she's gone through it too. So to have that here means the Galilee isn't going to be the forgotten Galilee, which is how I felt when I came here. It's like the periphery, and people just want to be in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. No, this is going to be a prime location for incubate for business ideas.
Yeah.
Best chances of walking on water. Best chances right at the Sea of Galilee. So we are super, super blessed and amazed to see some of these amazing things develop.
I love it.
And so you bring groups, and you're going to keep doing that. And any new books coming out? Jerusalem Rising. Any doing another one?
Yes. Well, there's Israel Rising, which is done very, very well. In fact, when we did the photo shoots back in 2015, 2016, you were actually a part of helping to.
That's right.
Be a part of that journey. In fact, somebody behind the camera was actually a part of some of those journeys as we explored into Samaria and Sebastia.
Places that are off the beaten track.
That are a little hairy, even more so today than even back then. But anyhow, that book has probably sold close to 50,000 copies with Israel Rising. Jerusalem Rising is quickly following on the heels of that. I have a third part of the Ancient Prophecy Modern Lens series, which is these photo books, and as well as an online course called 10 Prophecies Fulfilled in Your Lifetime, where I travel around and we're literally like reading these prophecies from the scriptures, and then going.
One of them would be Vines on the Mountains of Samaria, I'm sure.
One of them was about the Aliyah Return Center that you and I did together.
That's right.
About and you were telling your story on that.
That's
that video.
right.
That was a while ago. But a third photo book is called Rising, that will not yet be talked about, but it is in the editorial process, and all of the photo shoots are done. Everything is the manuscript is written, everything's finished. I have a very phenomenally amazing, thank you Anissa, editor who is doing some great stuff, and so that's also in the works. But all of that is providing visual documentation of these ancient prophecies, because we are able to document through film, through photographs, through modern media, the fact that these things have never happened before, and now they are for the first time ever, and we can document those changes to verify that exactly what Ezekiel says is happening, exactly what Zechariah says is happening, whatever, Zephaniah, pick a prophet. All of the prophets, all of their words are coming to pass in a way now that they weren't even 100 years ago.
Right.
And we're, again, with modern technology, with photography, with film, we have an opportunity to document that process. So when we talk about prophecy, it's not just when's the temple going to be built, or when is this going to happen, or when's Gog and Magog, or when's this invasion?
Right now.
Okay, I mean, all of those things will happen. Why would I concern myself with on down the road when things are happening in such profound ways right now, like people returning to the land, like the waste and forgotten cities being rebuilt, like the branches putting forth fruit, and that's one of the things that now during wartime, when 350,000 people are called up to their military units, like yourself, out of a nation of barely 10 million, even a little less right now. That leaves a tremendous hole in all of these different communities and all of these different places. So things as simple as farming, as simple as having fresh produce in the store has been less and less. And so there are practical ways that we've been bringing teams to get involved in that.
It's amazing.
But it's not just coming to do those things. When you do those things, Isaiah 61:5 talks about that the foreigners will be your vine dressers and they'll work your fields.
Right.
I've got foreigners that I'm bringing that are working the vines and working the fields in fulfillment of Isaiah's literal words.
Right.
And we can find that these things are not allegory or metaphor or spiritual symbolic things. Isaiah actually meant exactly what he said.
So you're saying it's not just spectating, it's participating in...
it's just time to get your hands dirty and get in. And it's like we have an opportunity in all sorts of areas throughout Israel, whether it's me or you or other organizations that are slowly starting to do this. I mean, not slowly, you and I have been doing it for a long time, but there's been others that have been kind of getting on the bandwagon. There is so much to be done here. And not just because we should love Israel or we support this or whatever your religious or political whatever. You can literally fulfill the pages of the Bible. Do you want to fulfill the pages of the Bible? Yes or no? Because if you do, there's an opportunity to.
True.
And when the scriptures talk about Gentiles being the ones that will help restore, that will work the fields, that will bring the sons and the daughters back and do all of these things, the prophets talk about the Gentiles being the ones that help restore Israel. So in other words, some Gentile somewhere is going to do it. If you're not Jewish and you're watching this, why not you?
Right.
Because some Gentile is going to do it somewhere.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, that's fine. Some other Gentile will do it.
Yeah.
But you have an opportunity to do that right now. And to be a part of the things that are going on in this land in the most profound ways, in my opinion, in ways that our parents or grandparents could have never dreamed about.
There's that saying, I don't know if I'll say it correctly, but if not now, when? If not me, then who? You know, it's like God is going to do it with or without us. That's the thing. And don't we want our legacy?
Yeah.
Don't we want to build a legacy? When we came up with the word Aliyah Return Center, many people said, you know what? Nobody knows what the word Aliyah means. You know, if you just call it Return Center, maybe that place where the Jewish people could return, but that word Aliyah. But I really to this day push for that to be there.
People are going to learn.
They're going to learn it. It's a Hebrew word, but it really means ascending. You know, ascending, the great return to the promised land, Aliyah. And really, it's also a challenge to ascend. It's like, come up here, come up now, my beloved. Come into God's understanding and into His actionable actions. And I think that's what we're about. And that's
I love actionable actions.
You got to do it. Well, just to end on that note is, people think the church. By the way, the church, Kirkion, the original word. It's really assembly. You know, it's really congregation. Is the actual Hebrew word kehilah.
Right.
Translated assembly or congregation, place where people gather. It's not about the word physical building. Now people say that. Do you know that it's not about the physical building, but the word church is specifically a shrine, a shrine place, a place that's been set apart, holy, sanctified place. Mm-hmm. But we are the sanctified people. The place can be anywhere, you know. So my point is, though, people think when they go to this sanctified place, really, we are the sanctified people together congregating in a park, in a wherever it is. Then you forget that it's not just a social club, a building with cool amenities like coffee and stuff, and a club, book club. It's not a book club.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be a place of actions. It's like the Galilean small fishing vessels would catch the fish. They clean the fish. They are helping their you know, whereas a cruise ship is like kind of what it feels like today. Like, what do I have on this cruise ship? What entertainment am I getting? But all that is to summarize and say, there's an entire book of the Bible called Acts. What does Acts mean?
Acts, not axe to the root of the tree.
No.
But acts as in doing something.
Correct! And that is the congregation doing something.
Right.
But it seems like people don't think that is what their assembly's about anymore.
Well, and I think that what you're talking about is personal responsibility.
Right.
Is that taking the ownership of this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
In the words of the wise non-prophetic Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings, is that we each get an opportunity to decide what we're going to do with the time that we're given. And here we are in a time when the prophets in the Bible are being fulfilled. We have an opportunity to take ownership of that, to take personal responsibility and say, I don't care if there's wars or rumors of wars. I don't care if somebody at the church thinks that maybe it's not safe and it's not wise for me to go. I feel like this is what I want to do, and this is what I want my life and my legacy to be a part of. And we each have that opportunity to have that personal responsibility, say, I am making this decision, not just for me, but to be a part of something that God has foretold from the beginning of this age. And as the culmination of this age happens, it really is going to be, according to the prophets, I mean, if we listen to the prophets, it's really about Israel. I mean, this whole Israel issue on the news and things, it's not going away. It's only going to intensify. And we get to each choose what we not only think about that, but do we want to be a part of the things that are happening here? Because there is more than enough things to be involved with things that are happening here.
True.
And again, just an opportunity to walk in the actual words of fulfilling the prophets is just extremely profound if you read the Bible and if that's important to you. And for those that read this book in the church,
Right.
The opportunity is for everyone, whether you're in the pews or whether you're up on front or you're doing whatever. If you are a part of that community, everyone has the opportunity and should be making that decision of, this is my personal responsibility, how do I walk that out in the acts of what I do.
True. And to summarize, I would just say this, is people sometimes imagine what they would do in the time of the Holocaust. Some say, I would be like Corrie ten Boom, and I would hide Jewish people in my house. I would be like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I would be like what's the man that did all the visas, Swedish diplomat, and so on. I would be helping. But right now Israel's going through a very, very hard time where there's a lot of anti-Semitism in the world, and what would they do? Well, right now is a great testing time to see what you are doing now. And for many people, they're like waiting for something. It feels like they're waiting for something instead of, coming together right now. And so we encourage you. We're waiting for you in the land. Come on over here, and we'll show you around. And it's going to be a prophetic time, and it's going to be a blessing for you and for this nation when we need you the most right now. God bless you.